I'm Ryan Milton from Team FFLEX, and today we're going to be looking at the Natural Atlantic Coast Bikini Championships in the NPC. And we're going to look at our overall winners and some of our other class winners and go over criteria a bit, why the placings may have landed the way they did, and what it means for you as a bikini competitor out there trying to do your best on stage. That's what I dedicate this channel to, is giving you the tools, the tips, the things you need to know to do better as a competitor. So if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, give me a thumbs up, help me out, grow this channel. Let's keep rocking and rolling. So let's get to it. What we got here again is the Natural Atlantic Coast. This is NPC competition. Okay, so this is our overall winner and our Class B winner, Natalie. So she's the one that won the entire bikini division at this event. Okay, that's what the overall winner is. Basically, at the end of the show, at the end of the night, you compete against every other class winner, and whoever wins that is kind of the overall winner of that event. They won everything for bikini at that point. So that's Natalie there, Class B and overall winner. Over here we have Maria, she's our Class A winner, and then over here we have Cassidy, she's our Class C winner. So we're going to look at these three ladies, and then we have a couple others we'll bring into the lineup here, other class winners that we'll talk about as well. So right out the gate, what I can tell you is very good level for not only natural competition, but also for just NPC in general. I mean, this is a lot of very good on criteria physiques for bikini. So if you want to be an NPC bikini competitor, this is a very realistic look into what you're going to be, needing to look like and or competing against at your event. Obviously, all events go a little bit differently, but the judges are always going to judge within the criteria, and I think that's important to remember, right? Some shows may look a little bit leaner, some may look a little more muscular, some may even look softer, but realistically, the judges are always scoring athletes based on who showed up that day to best fit within the criteria. So what we can see right away is Natalie has, the best shoulder shape of this lineup, which is really key for the hourglass shape. That's what creates that top base, that upper body look, that aesthetic there, that roundness and fullness to shoulders, really key in this division. You want to make sure that you have that. If you do have that, it's going to be an advantage for you in scoring. Judges are going to see that, and they're going to say, okay, you definitely have some shoulder development. That's what we want to see in bikini division. It's this roundness and this fullness, this look here to create that, and that's a combination of really working all three heads of your deltoid, the front delt, the lateral delt, and the rear delt, and creating that look. Bikini, we always talk about, it's like the least muscular women's division, but it is absolutely still a big division in bodybuilding. I hear other coaches that don't really coach for bikini or wellness or anything like that saying that you don't really have to train to be a bikini competitor, and they're totally wrong. You absolutely have to train to attain this look. It is not going to be a look that you just have. So we can see that Natalie definitely has that shoulder shape, that development. It's a very good for creating this upper top base, if you will, of this hourglass shape for her, and it really helps sweep into a very narrow waist look, creating this dramatic V taper. The more dramatic of a V taper that you can create for yourself on stage in bikini division, the better. Okay, so shrinking the waist, bringing out the shoulders, that's going to help a ton. And realistically, that's what we see, Natalie has here to that degree for sure, is a very good taper into the waist. Her lat does help a little bit here, but really it's being tiny in the waist and bringing in the shoulders too. So that's a very nice sweep for her. One thing I would say, ongoing, is she may find that her arms kind of become a little bit overpowering. They're kind of right on the cusp right here from what I can see. You do not want your bicep and your tricep in bikini division to end up distracting or deterring from the shoulder development you have. She's not there yet, but maybe longevity wise, look at that is what I would say to anybody out there. If you're one of those athletes that are trying to compete and you're like, my arms look a little bit too big, okay, well, you want to downsize those then and let the full body, the upper body, the shoulders really take the show. That's going to help you a lot. As far as conditioning goes, she's very spot on with conditioning. We can see the oblique lines here, the flat stomach. This is what judges want to see. A little bit of separation in the shoulders. Very on point, on par conditioning for bikini. Pretty much perfect actually for the conditioning of that. Now looking lower body, this is where we should see the hourglass kind of takes shape again. So we talked about this being the upper bit here, and now we should see that come back out down here, and we definitely do. So she's got the overall glute shape that you need. The development of the upper glute does not look flat. The overall glute shape is there. The hamstrings showing through here, quads as well. So again, a lot of muscle, a lot of shape. That's what creates the bikini physique. The most ideal bikini physique is built on muscle. Remember that. Don't be trying to diet yourself into oblivion. You need to make sure you're building the muscle. And if you do, that's what's going to help you do better on stage. So for her, really good balance between the hamstrings, the quads, and the glutes. This is a nice match overall, and it matches the upper body. So really, really, really strong front pose for Natalie here, creating this hourglass shape. And again, conditioning right on par. We see the soft lines here in the quads and up here a little bit into the glute. This is where we should see conditioning in bikini for the most part. Looking over here now at Maria. She's our Class A winner, so another class winner in this lineup. She's got some shoulder development here. We're losing this shoulder a little bit. I would, right out the gate say a little bit of posing tweaks would be helpful to her, but she still does really bring it through. We can see the narrow waist effect. We see the lower body development of the glutes and the upper glute overall, into the hamstrings and the quads. Everything is in good symmetry here. She's definitely very symmetrical. It does all match. She does not have the same amount of muscle, obviously, as Natalie does. So that's, in the lineup. And again, this is not exactly how this lineup may have landed. I don't know how they were all placed in the overall, but this is class winners we're looking at here compared to each other. But Natalie, as the class winner and overall winner in Class B, she definitely has more muscle than our Class A winner here, Maria. However, Maria's physique very on par with criteria, very good overall showing for that class. Now looking over here, Class C, Cassidy. We can see some shoulder development here, tapers into the waist nicely, creates this upper body, V-tapered look the judges want to see, and the lower body brings it right back out too, just like we would want to see in this division. Overall glute shape is there, quads and hamstrings that match nicely. Conditioning is very on point. We can see those lines here in the quads, the glutes, the abdominals, a little bit in the shoulder. That's exactly where you should be in bikini division. Again, for her, doesn't have as much of that muscle as Natalie does, so a little bit less of that shoulder popping. You can kind of see it looks a little bit more depleted. Her entire physique to me looks a little bit depleted down, which basically just means, right, when you see the muscles not as full maybe as they could be. So, athletes get this for various reasons. It could be how they peaked in, it could be how they ate going into show, it could be if they dieted a long time or did a lot of cardio, or it could just be where their physique is at that point in their muscle building journey. We don't really know. But for Cassidy here, maybe a little bit more fullness in the shoulders would have been advantageous to her to help her, take the overall at this event. However, she won her class. It is right on par with criteria 100%, and that is exactly a great bikini standard physique for the NPC and especially for a natural event. Now, let's take a look back here. This is our same three athletes, Natalie, Maria, and Cassidy, and this is the back pose. So we always talk about how judges are really scoring you in these two poses, the front and the back. Don't get me wrong, they're looking at you in transition, so don't mess those up, but really your scoring majority is going to be in the front and the back, and bikini tends to be one from the back, as does really every bodybuilding division. So here's what we see on Natalie. That shoulder shape is very pronounced. We can definitely see that it's there. She's got even rear delt popping here. So really just a testament to how much muscle she really has. It does taper down on the waist nicely. This is a good look. Her upper body starts to look a little bit dominant from this position, but it's all right because the glutes and the quads and the hamstrings, since she has so much muscle there, and we can see that by this kind of quad sweep and the upper glute here, the overall glute size and the hamstring, everything kind of ties together well. So still bringing through a balanced, hourglass physique that we want to see in bikini division. For her to continue to advance, I would say to correct a little bit of that and maybe either downsize the upper body just a tad or bring up the lower body a bit, and that would help her, continue to advance depending where she goes. But again, overall winner, great physique, great representation of criteria. Looking over here at Maria, what we can see is from the shoulders, not as much of that development showing through even that we had in the front pose. So again, that's one of the areas for her to work on building. A lot of athletes end up like this. It might be you out there that ends up like this, right, where you have this muscle group you need to kind of bring up to continue to improve. And for her in this lineup, in my opinion, it would be probably shoulders to bring up to match the lower body. Otherwise, glute development is there, upper glute is there. The overall, development of the lower body seems to be on par. Maybe tightening up conditioning a tad is another way to continue to advance, her physique there. Now looking over here at Cassidy, what we can see is some good shoulder shape overall. Tapers in nicely, and then the lower body here where we can see quads, glutes, everything's there. Does look a bit depleted. We can kind of see the upper glute looks flatter. In this sense, that's more of a depleted look, kind of like we saw in the front there. So maybe a little bit more fullness coming through would have helped her snag the overall here, but keep in mind, class winner, we're just talking about how the placings may have landed and why. Here we go now, moving down the lineup a bit. So a couple more class winners, and I'm not doing all the class winners from this event. There's a lot of them. It went to like class freaking H at this event, or G or something like that. It's definitely a lot, but we're going to look at 2 more of the class winners here. So obviously we're keeping Natalie in the middle here, and we are bringing in our class D winner Alexis and our class F winner Maddie. Okay, so we have another 2 that we're going to look at and kind of compare here. So looking at Alexis, she's got a lot of good muscle, a lot of good size in the upper body, a good taper in. Her conditioning is very on point. Her size in the lower body seems to be very on point. This is a very competitive look for that class, no doubt, and probably neck and neck in the overall lineup, I would guess, based on what we're seeing. This is pretty much where you want to be. Again, she's one that maybe the shoulders and the arms kind of start to compete with each other down the line, and not right now as it sits. She still has a great waist taper in. Everything should be there in the lower body. However, you know, looking at this front shot, maybe her glutes a tad overpowering, and that can happen, right? It's not all about just building as much glute as you can. You want that to be in symmetry, and you want that size and that proportion to match. For her, I would say maybe that's a factor, maybe not. But, you know, looking at this, her glute does appear to be a little bit overpowering from this front pose. And looking over here at Maddie now, our class F winner, good shoulder shape overall, great waist taper in here, very narrow, and that is, again, what you should see, and then bounces out nicely into the lower body with the glute shape in the quads and the hamstrings. A little bit less muscle in her legs, you'll notice, in the quads and the hamstrings, but it doesn't hurt her in this because she's a very tall athlete, you can tell, right? So just a lot of that length comes through, and you get to get away with a little bit more of that in a lot of these lineups, depending on the class that you're competing in the height. You know, your look is going to be a little bit different as well. So really good, solid representation of criteria for her. You know, maybe a little posing tweak, just kind of pull in the midsection just a bit more, but overall very good and class winner again. Now looking here from the back of these 3 athletes, we obviously already went over Natalie in the middle, so now we're going to look at Alexis again from the back. A little bit, a lot of muscle going on in the shoulders, okay? We can see that here. That's all right, though, because it tapers down nicely and it does work on her physique. Now, looking at the lower body, I do, again, get just kind of like how I did in that front pose, a little bit of that glute dominance look here. So maybe a tad too dominant in the glute. She's got a lot of glute shape, a lot of overall glute shape there, tie-ins in the size and development. And it is not a bad thing, but it does look a little bit overpowering compared to her quads and her hamstrings and just her physique overall. So that glute dominance can kind of, you know, in an overall lineup, it looks a little bit asymmetrical. It may or may not win you the overall. In this case, it did not. So that's, again, you know, for her, maybe a little bit of rebalancing of her physique would be a good idea to continue to advance, depending where she wants to go. But, you know, again, very good physique overall. Won her class. Great representation of criteria. And looking over here, Maddie, one more time. Shoulder shape's good. Tapers in nicely. Everything you'd want to see. The lower body appears to be a little bit less muscular, so we're not getting as much pop from the upper glute or the overall glute development here. Not a lot of the tie-in, so maybe for her, just adding a little bit more muscle lower body, and that works just fine. We did kind of see that from the front as well, but it worked better in that front pose, which again is something you got to consider, right? You got to look strong in all poses as a competitor. If you have areas that need to come up or come down, they're going to show up somewhere, and usually it's going to be the front or the back. Sometimes it's transition though. However, great representation of the criteria from all these ladies, all class winners. Great job to all of them. And we're really just breaking down, you know, more and more competitions, trying to talk more about why placings landed the way they did and give you all better insight into how you can do better on stage, bringing your best to stage, okay? So let me know what you guys think. Do you want more of these videos? Do you want more natural videos? Do you want more of a specific division? Do you want more wellness, more bikini, more masters, more figure? What is it you want me to cover? And I'll bring it on the channel, all right? Thank you for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you can, and make sure you're subscribed. Hang out. We got a lot more coming. Thanks for watching. Coach Rye is out.